Hello silver friends, this is Joli from QuickSilverHair, and today I wanted to give you a personal update, let you know how surgery went and how things are currently going. So if you don't know already, I had a surgery in Dallas, Texas. I had to fly out there and have this surgery done on my spine. There is a previous video about that on my channel if you want to go back and check it out. I wanted to start this off by saying thank you so very much for all your love, your prayers, your checking in, your messages, everything. I appreciate it so much. I have said for many years now that the kindest place on the internet is the silver hair community, and once again, you did not disappoint. I appreciate you all so very much, and I think it's amazing that even though we have not met in person for the most part, because I have met some of you, that you can be so supportive and so kind. So thank you so very much. I want to start off with something that was an unexpected silver lining to this whole thing. I have not traveled outside of the state of New Mexico in 20 years. So it was 2006 the last time I went outside the state with my husband, and it has been since 2004 since I have been on a plane. So it was really cool for me to get back on a plane, sit down in that window seat and watch the scenery go by, which has always been my favorite thing about flying, is watching the scenery change from one destination to the next. And even though I have flown from Albuquerque to Dallas probably 100 times, it was still like the first time, and it was so great. We left a few days early so that I could deal with meal prepping. I have food allergies, and that is one of the reasons why I haven't traveled in so long, because I could not figure out how I would manage eating and how I would manage dealing with all of that. So this was kind of a practice run for my husband and I to figure out how I would fly, where we would stay, and how we would deal with food if I traveled with him, for instance, or if we wanted to take an actual vacation. So this was a nice practice run. We did it. It worked out pretty well. I would say that the hotel it could have been better. It wasn't the best hotel in Dallas. It was kind of the location. And I think if we had picked a slightly different place a little bit further out, it would have been a better hotel. However, it was doable. Everything was fine. The bed was good. So that was all great. And I'm really grateful that I had the foresight to know that I needed to prep food for the entire week, because as I suspected, the hospital was unable to feed me. I had a little bit of a hiccup there with the fact that there was supposed to be a dietitian to come and let me know what food I could eat from the cafeteria, and no one ever showed up, so I was unable to even order food. It really kind of didn't matter. I wasn't that interested in food, so it was not that big a deal. But I tell you what, if you've got food allergies, a hospital is the worst place to expect to be fed safely. The very first meal that they allowed me to have was bone broth, and my husband did call down to the cafeteria to find out what was in it and if I was going to have issues with it, because I cannot have gluten, garlic, or onions, and the bone broth was not safe. So he took care of the food part for me, which was just fine. I had prepped everything and it all worked out. Everything went well. The surgery was a success as far as being able to do exactly what he needed to do. I had 6 cysts instead of 5. I had 4 on the right side and 2 on the left side. My sacrum was translucent and in places completely eroded away. So the cysts have all been bound off, and I have a plate on my sacrum that will eventually dissolve, but in its place it leaves this kind of coating that helps protect the bone. Overall, everything went great, so that was perfect. So of all the things that I could imagine in the first 24 hours after surgery, I did not predict the one thing that ended up being the biggest problem. So they warn you that it's going to be rough because the first 24 hours you are laying flat. And after surgery, for most people, the anesthesia will cause the digestive system to slow down, and it can cause gas and bloating and just generalized discomfort. And I know this because I've had so many surgeries. Normally I get up, I start walking around, I start moving, drinking some soda water, whatever helps. But I couldn't do any of that because I had to lay flat. So the longer I laid there, the worse it got and the more uncomfortable I got. The pain pump, of course, wasn't touching any of it because I wasn't actually in pain from the surgery itself, but in pain from all of this pressure building and it pushing on the surgical site. The sad thing is the medication that I needed to solve that problem had been ordered for me, but my nurse did not give it to me. So that was pretty rough. And the next morning when shift change happened, the new nurse saw that there was a drug there for that. She gave it to me and things started to get better immediately after that. The other thing that happened in the night was I did experience my first highest level of level 10 pain. It was due to all of that, so that was really sucky. They kept giving me pain medication because they were thinking that the pain was from the surgery, but it was from the bloating and the gas, which was just... I kept telling him if I could get rid of this, I would be so much happier and I would be so much more at ease. But I didn't sleep at all the entire night, so that was really rough. My nurse came in about 3 o'clock in the morning and was giving me a Tylenol drip, and I ended up with an IV injury. So she started the IV and my vein blew in my hand, and I was laying there watching like this golf ball size lump show up on my wrist, which was the Tylenol filling up my wrist. And I told her about it and she said, well, just hold it down, just put a little pressure on it and it'll go down. Which it went down, of course, because I was putting pressure on it, but I don't know where that Tylenol went. It probably did not go very much into my bloodstream at all. But I ended up with an IV injury. Editing Joli here, I failed to mention that the reason I ended up with the IV injury was because the IV was left in after the vein blew until 9 o'clock the next morning. Since I've been home, gone to see my vein doctor, and he mapped out that I have 4 clots in my hand. So I have a clot here, and then I have one down here, and I have one here. This one's actually the same clot right in here. It just, the bone kind of pushes it apart. But this one was the first one I noticed, and it was really hard. Like, you could see this really raised hard lump in my hand. It's still kind of there. And this vein coming across here, it raised way up, it came way down, and it turned green. That was amazingly painful. I couldn't believe how much pain my hand was in, given everything that was in pain. And my vein doctor even said, no, you're not being dramatic or anything. It really is painful to have all these clots in your hand. The good thing is they are superficial. They will eventually dissolve and go away. They're not the kind of clots that can cause major issues. They just are painful. So it was really difficult the first couple of weeks just washing my hands or putting lotion on, or, God forbid, I banged my arm on something. It was just so painful. The pain overall, once I was up and moving around, for me, the most comfortable positions to be in were standing and walking, which I would get tired, and laying on my side. Sitting straight down on a chair or sitting in, like sitting on the edge of the bed or something like that was very uncomfortable. So for the first 10 days or so, I spent most of my time up and walking around or laying on my side. And I am not the type of person to lay around much. I just, once I'm awake, I am up. And that's just how I am. That's just the type of person I am. So it was really difficult for me to lay down. However, the medications were affecting my blood pressure and making me very, very tired because they were pushing my blood pressure way down, which is, from what I understand now, something that can happen with EDS. And I did not know that, but all of my life I have struggled with my blood pressure being slightly low, if not dangerously low at times. So, I mean, for instance, I went in to see my primary care when I got back, and I'm standing there and she's taking my blood pressure, and she said, "You can stay standing if you want for my comfort level." And I said, "No, it's better if I sit down. You'll get a more accurate read." But I was yawning and I was so tired and I could barely keep my eyes open. So I sit down in the chair, she takes my blood pressure, and it was like 90/60 or something like that. It was really low. And I kind of went, oh, well, no wonder I'm so tired. So once I figured that out, I started paying attention to my blood pressure, and I realized I had to cut back on the meds. So I quickly weaned off of all of the meds, which was fine. The actual pain that I'm in from the surgery itself has dissipated pretty steadily, day by day, a little by little. So it's like each day it's measurably better. It's not 100% better or anything, which that kind of leads me into the next thing, and that is that there's a part of me that has thought maybe I shouldn't have had this surgery. Maybe it wasn't necessary. My husband does remind me that there was a lot of preventative measure going on here, because there are people that have these cysts that show up for surgery and they can't walk at all without severe pain, or they're in wheelchairs and so forth. But it still remains to be seen what benefits I'm going to gain from the surgery from a pain standpoint. There was a lot of numbness that happened after, and that was all in the pelvic area. And some of that is just now starting to go away after 4 weeks. So it's going to take a while before I really know what is being kind of fixed, so to speak. And nerves take a really long time to heal. So it takes years before they can completely heal. And it's just going to be a time will tell kind of thing. I had the hospitalist who would come swirling and whirling into my room at like 6 o'clock in the morning. "Mr. Chipper, how are you today? Is everything better?" And he did this the first morning after surgery, and I was like, I have no idea. And he asked me, "Are your feet better?" And I was like, I don't know. I can't feel my feet right now. So when I finally got up out of the bed and started moving, the first thing I noticed was as soon as my feet hit the floor, it felt like I was standing on gravel. And once my nerves kind of woke up and I started moving and taking steps, that sensation went away, thank goodness. But the pain in my feet has not gone away, and I have had to be up and walking around and moving, and the pain has not gone away. So I don't know how long or if that will resolve itself, because it still remains to be seen if these cysts were causing the pain in my feet. Fingers crossed, of course, at this point that I went through all of this and that will be the end result, that pain will go away. I do have an additional pain that is something I have felt before this surgery. It wasn't a constant thing and it wasn't going on directly before surgery, but it was something I had noticed before, and that was the sensation of sitting on rocks. And this is a symptom of the Tarlov cysts. It is something that a lot of people with Tarlov cysts experience. It feels like when you sit down, like you're sitting on something, you're sitting on a golf ball or a rock. To me, it feels like I'm sitting on a rock. And it's centralized to the right side of my glutes. So it's really weird sensation. It was really bad at first. It is starting to kind of dissipate now. Because it's neuropathy, it could be a couple of years before that completely goes away. But it's really interesting to me. I never connected that pain to my sacrum. I thought it was piriformis pain or glute pain. And I've even been to my massage therapist and my chiropractor to help deal with that when it would flare up. And I've had occasions where it would flare up and it would last for months. So it'll be interesting to see if that was actually related to the Tarlovs. And if that goes away, that'd be great. I do have the ability to sit for a little while, and so I have been catching up on my website. It's been a while since I have been able to sit down and stay seated at my desk and do work on my website. I have to be careful, so I set a timer to get up and move every 45 minutes. So I set a timer for 45 minutes, and then I get up and I would do some laps around the house, and then I come back and sit back down. But over the last couple of weeks, after I weaned completely off the drugs and I could see straight, I started working on my website. I've done a few blog posts that are related to some of my video content that normally would have had blog posts attached to them, but I did not have the time, the energy, or feel like doing it. So I've gotten that done. I have been tinkering around with my homepage a little bit because the traffic to my website has gone down dramatically this year. Business has slowed dramatically, and I am trying to figure out how I'm going to deal with that. So I have been taking some time to kind of investigate that and slow down and look at it, which right now is a good time for me to do that because business is slow, I'm convalescing, and it gives me time to really focus on it rather than give it a quick look and take off on to the next thing. So it'll be interesting to see if some of the tweaks that I've made over the last week or so will be of benefit to my business. It's been really interesting the last year or so. I have relied on good search engine optimization for my business and word of mouth. I do not purchase ads and I don't have ads on my website. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's something I'm going to have to do in the future in order to get business to my site. I have mixed feelings about all that. It's been 8 years. I am coming up on the 8-year anniversary of the beginning of the QuickSilverHair brand and the concept behind the clay and the oil. It's actually next week is 8 years. I have a lot of mixed feelings. Like, I really don't know where things are going, and I'm kind of open to see what happens. It's really difficult to manage the landscape of the internet right now because of AI. It's changed the game completely, and it's really difficult to find the answers to something so new because there really aren't any answers yet. Changes are happening so rapidly that there's really no good advice out there as to what to do to stay relevant and to stay in front of our customers. I'm not the only one experiencing this. A lot of small businesses with small websites are experiencing this because what happened with AI and search is that the minute that Google implemented AI as search, when you go to search for something, AI goes out, finds the answer, and brings it back and gives you a little summary, and you're happy with that. What used to happen is you did a little search and Google would come back and give you a list of websites that had relevant content about whatever you were searching for, and you would go to those websites and get that information. That is how I got customers to my site. That's one of the reasons I have such a huge blog, is I wrote all of that content in order to, one, give you the information, but two, help you find me. And that method, while it still works to a certain degree, if people only look at the AI results and never click beyond that, then they never land on the website. So it's a new landscape, and it's something, I'm going to just keep doing my thing, and hopefully it all kind of works itself out eventually. Like, maybe everybody kind of figures out exactly how to manage this. So that's what I've been up to. It's been a lot of thinking. So for the couple of weeks that I have been able to actually work, I have spent quite a bit of time dealing with that. That's pretty much it with business and what I've been up to. I probably won't be doing a whole lot with video right away. I am going to take my time and do things at my own pace and do things in relationship to respecting how I'm feeling. I think that sitting here doing videos is a lot of fun and I love it. However, I don't want to put any more undue stress on the situation. So respecting that, I may not be putting out as much content as I normally do, as quickly as I normally do, but I'm hoping you guys will all be rather patient with that. Anyway, that's my update, and I'm really grateful for how well I'm doing. I'm really grateful for the fact that this went relatively easily. I was very scared going into it because it was the spine, and I was really nervous about having nerves operated on and what that could look like for the healing process. but I'm really grateful. I'm up, I'm moving around, I feel good, and I am ready to get back to doing yoga. I'm allowed to do whatever I want as long as I don't cause more pain. So whatever I am able to tolerate is acceptable. I am moving slow and respecting this process, so that's how it's going for right now. Anyway, I hope you appreciated this update. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave those in the comments section below. I'll be happy to answer you. If you have any interest in learning more about Tarlov Cysts or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I will leave links in the description box below for you. While you're down there, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to see you next time. Until then, shine on.